Are you ready?
Oh, yeah!
From parts unknown and into your home, this is the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. Now, here's your host, Groovy G.
Hello there, folks, and welcome to the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. On this episode, we take a close-up look at a proposed New Japan Pro Wrestling United States title belt. That's coming your way right now.
You spoke, we listened. Introducing the Groovy G Replica Belts Big Gold Dual-Plated Edition. It's still full adult size. It's still 3D. And it's still only $600 US, delivered worldwide to your door. Exclusively available at www.groovygreplicabelts.com.
When the pandemic brought the world to a grinding halt, it left us with a lot of time on our hands. So what does a belt collector do with that extra time? Well, he decides to make his own belt, doesn't he? Now, to start off with, I am not a belt maker and I've got no plans whatsoever to be the next Reggie Parks. This was just a project to see if I could get a belt to fruition. Now, I started off with the New Japan United States title, not because I'm a fan of New Japan Pro Wrestling. It's because it's one of the titles I least like the design of. Now, look, that's nothing against the current makers and current designers. That's just my personal interest. Some people may not like this design, and that's fine as well too. But instead of being a keyboard warrior, I decided to put my money where my mouth was and decided to make my own belt. Now, making a belt, pretty simple, right? Just come up with your design, get it acid etched, plated, put it onto some leather and you're away. Maybe add a little bit of paint. Simple, right? Wrong. My hat really goes off to all of those makers out there that make a living from all of these belts that we take for granted. Now, let's get into this particular belt, and as you can probably tell already, it has been heavily influenced by the Midwest Southern-style belts that were around in the early 80s. Now, I really wanted to do a retro feel to this from those classic glory days of the 1980s when the United States title belt really had some meaning to it, and I've definitely been heavily influenced by those Southern-style belts. Let's start off with the side plates, and one of them has just got two grapplers in that very common lock-up position. Now, this belt has been etched by an American etcher, so it's 4mm. The original Southern-style belts that Reggie Parks made was actually on a copper base with another relief piece on top, but I think with the modern etching that you get now, it certainly makes it look like a two-piece relief plate on top of another. Now, there's a lot of questions around HD etching versus SD etching. Look, there is no such thing as HD etching. Either your plates have been etched correctly or they haven't been. Now, a lot of the guys that are coming out of Pakistan will say that they're doing HD plates. I've had them and I've compared them to American-made plates before. They're certainly etched as deep as American plates, but they're still not as crisp. So their etching techniques still aren't quite up to par with American plates like these ones have been made. Now, I've also gone around the outside of these two grapplers with some stars and some different flourishes, and they're oval-shaped as well too. Again, that's a throwback to the old titles, and there's not many titles around today that have those oval shapes on the side plates. If we go to the next side plate, we've got the United States banner. Again, that's surrounded by stars and some dots as well too in that oval shape, and it's a very simple, just a United States banner with the red, white and blue painting on it. Let's have a look at the main plate, and this is where things get really interesting. Of course, you can't have a United States belt without a big bald eagle on the middle of it. Now, originally, I wanted to have some relief plates pieces on this particular belt. I wanted the New Japan logo up the top of the belt. I wanted that to be a relief piece. I also wanted the IWGP letters to be a relief piece, and I also wanted the United States and the heavyweight wrestling banners to be a relief piece as well too, actually being held onto by relief pieces that were the Eagles' talons. Unfortunately, I got those pieces etched, but I couldn't figure out the logistics on how to get them to go together to make it into a stacked plate. Again, my hat's off to you belt makers that actually know how to do this. I'm just a novice. But again, that was my idea behind it. With the eagle as well too, if I had my time again, I would probably invert the eagle. As you can see, there's a lot of gold that you can see the feathers, but then there's lots of gaps underneath it where it's been dual plated. I'd invert that so the actual gaps would have been the feathers as well too. But again, hey, it's really hard to tell these things before you've got the finished piece in front of you. Around the eagle, we've got some chevrons and, of course, the United States flag in behind those eagle's feathers. And that's something that has been on a lot of United States title belts. I'm thinking really of those WCW belts that Reggie Parks made, as well as that WCW belt that J-Mar made with the eagle with the flag in the background as well too. So that's where I drew my inspiration for the flag in the background as well. And I think that the paintwork on it, making it flourishing, really makes it stand out from the gold and the nickel plating that's on top of it. Now, on the corners, I have got a couple of gems put in there as well, too. Of course, they're red, white, and blue, the United States colours, but I've strategically placed them. There is a red in one corner and a blue in another corner. In New Japan Pro Wrestling, they still have a red corner and a blue corner, so they've been put there for that particular reason, and then we've just got those clear stones offsetting that. On the other side of the belt, the side plates are exactly the same. They haven't been mirrored or anything. Again, just the United States banner surrounded by stars and the two grapplers locking up. And it just has a really, really simple strap. I have to put a shout out there to Mr. Darren Hall from Championship Gold here in Australia. He helped me a lot assembling this belt all together. He has been very, very giving in his information of how to make a belt. Darren Hall from Championship Gold here in Australia. The big shout out goes to him for all of his help and advice. So there we have it. That's my take on a New Japan Pro Wrestling United States title belt. What do you think? Do you think I could improve it some ways? Do you think you could do better? Are you going to put your money where your mouth is and come up with a design? You never know, it could end up being the next Winged Eagle. Now, this particular belt itself is not for sale. I sent it off to New Japan. I sent it to them last year for their 50th anniversary. So it's in their possession at the moment. So what do you think? If you're a fan, get in contact with New Japan and ask them to use this belt. I know it's a little bit funny now. We've got Will Ospreay with the United Kingdom belt, and that made its a debut on the weekend. But please let me know in the comments what your take is on this particular belt. What do you like? What don't you like? If you had your time again, what would you be doing? I know for me, if I had my time again, a couple of things I'd change. I'd probably invert that eagle, and I'd certainly make a video of this particular belt. Unfortunately, I only took photos and I shipped it off to New Japan, so that was a rookie mistake on my part. But there we go, that's my take. Can you do better? Let's see it if you can. Now let's have a sneak peek at what's coming your way on the next Groovy G Championship Belt podcast.
You're watching the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast. For your official Groovy G Belt Podcast merchandise, check out www.groovygshop.com.
And on the next episode of the Groovy G Championship Belt Podcast, the self-indulgence continues. We're going to have a look at my take on the NWA World's Junior Heavyweight Championship. Until then, make sure you don't miss a thing by subscribing to this YouTube channel, and you can check us out on Twitter and Instagram. Until then, take care. It's bye for now.